What was my first ever concert? This is funny because it's kind of embarrassing, but it's also a good date question because it gets you talking about your music taste. So twofold on this one. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or to it. This is the first time you are seeing my face. Thank you for clicking on it. My name is Jacy. I like to do story times and chit chats on this channel, and that was the intro. Now more about the video you're about to watch. So I'm gonna be getting a little bit more personal on this video and telling you guys about some of my firsts. Now it's not gonna be spicy. I might save that for a future video if I reach a certain amount of subscribers, but these are just gonna be some of my first things that I've ever done or thought or experienced in life. And I wanted to share this because not only will you get to know me a little bit better, but you can actually use all of these questions on your first dates. I think that they're fun conversation starters and just kind of veering away from, do you have any brothers and sisters? What do you do for work? You know, they're a little bit more fun. They kind of get you thinking and reminiscing about some of the good old times, but these also lead into some other fun areas that you can take the conversation, and I will be mentioning those. So kind of twofold. I'll be answering the questions myself because I don't know, self-centered, I guess, and it's my channel, so that's okay. But also use these questions as a guide to ask on first dates, just to spice up the conversation and make it a little bit more fun. So with that being said, let's hop into some of these conversation starters and some of my own personal first times. Question number 1, what is the first app I open in the morning? I think I actually kind of open all of my social media apps in succession, but not to scroll. This sounds so weird, but it's kind of just to see if I blew up overnight. So I think the first one I check is TikTok. I open TikTok and I see if like maybe one of my videos did really well overnight, because that actually happens. There are a lot of people on all sides of the world that will see my videos while I'm sleeping. So it's kind of fun to check of like, oh wow, that one kind of blew up overnight. I'm a star. Actually, it doesn't really happen that often, so I don't know why I have this habit. But in terms of actually scrolling and sitting down and looking at apps, I think the first one I check in the morning is Twitter. And that's because Twitter is where I go for a lot of my news, where a lot of my trending topics. So I guess the answer is either TikTok or Twitter, depending on how you want to look at it. Who was my first celebrity crush? I kind of have two, and they're both very different. My very first celebrity crush that I can remember in terms of a normal one was Devon Sawa. Is it Devon or Devon Sawa? I think that's how you pronounce it. I've never actually tried pronouncing his name out loud. I knew him and fell in love with him as Junior Floyd from The Little Giants. This was one of my favorite movies growing up. I would watch this all the time, not only because I loved Junior Floyd, but also because I wanted to be Becky the Icebox. I just admired her so much. So he was probably my first traditional crush in terms of, oh my God, he's so cute. I like him. I like boys. And then one of my weirder celebrity crushes that my family always made fun of me for was actually Mikey from the Goonies. Now this is funny because Mikey grew up to be Sean Astin. Is Sean Astin anybody's celebrity crush? I don't know, maybe, but I loved Mikey from the Goonies. I thought he was so relatable. I also had asthma and an inhaler, so I really related to him on that note, but he was also a good leader. He was ambitious and he was looking for that treasure. And I thought he was cute. So Mikey from the Goonies and Junior Floyd from The Little Giants were two of my first celebrity crushes. What was my first broken bone? I have done a video of all of my weird and interesting injuries, so check that out. But my first broken bone was I broke my collarbone when I was 4 years old falling off the bed. Like a dumbass. Fell off the bed, landed weird, took a few days to go to the hospital because like I had no outward appearances of it being broken. And turns out it was. And then I had to wear a sling for a little bit. So that was my first broken bone and first major injury. This is also really good first date questions because a lot of people haven't broken bones or haven't gotten a lot of weird injuries, but it actually kind of leads into some of their interests. Because when I ask this question, people will be like, oh, I broke my wrist, you know, playing football. And then that leads into the next part of like, oh, you play football? Tell me more about that. So it's kind of fun first question. Unless their first injury is like really traumatic and kind of triggering. So actually use this one with caution. What is the first foreign country that I visited? I live in California, Mexico. is kind of right there. I think the very first foreign country that I visited was Mexico, and that's because we always had a lot of soccer tournaments down in San Diego. Tijuana was really close, so I remember we'd always go down there and go to Papas and Beer, which is like the super touristy part. We didn't do this often, but that was definitely the first foreign country that I've ever visited. And I actually haven't visited many. I've been to Fiji, Mexico, and that's it. I need to get some more traveling done, some international travel. I need to put that passport to use. What was my first job? If you follow the channel, you know this. I was a hostess at Johnny Rockets. I really wanted this job, not only because my sister worked there and I just wanted to emulate every single thing that she did, but it was the perfect first job. I was 16 years old, and Johnny Rockets was the perfect place because you had to dance every half hour based on some of the songs that played on the jukebox. It was just a really fun environment, and I loved working there. I worked there for 5 years. I started off as a hostess and worked my way up to a shift lead, so that was my first job. What is the first concert I ever went to? I'll have to see if I could dig up photos for this because I can't remember which one came first, but it was actually pretty classic of me. My first concert was either NSYNC or Britney Spears. I can't remember how old I was or which one came first, but it was all in the same era where pop music was the shiz. It's kind of like the equivalent of people going to see, like, I don't know, who's on the radio today? The Weeknd? I don't know, but that was the classic era of just going out and seeing boy bands, going and seeing Britney Spears' belly dancing. So those were my first concerts. This is another fun question because it could easily lead into some of their current music tastes. Because a lot of people haven't been to concerts at all either, which I find so surprising because I've been going to concerts since the beginning of time, clearly. I'm a little dating myself with NSYNC. But it's a really fun question because you can also lead it into a future date idea. Like, wow, you haven't been to that many concerts? We should go sometime. So I like this question for a first date. What was your first profile picture? That's a fun one. Let's check. I think my first profile picture was on MySpace, but I have a bone to pick with Mr. Tom. I can't get access to my MySpace, and that's because this was back in the day where you could use a fake email address to sign up for these social media apps. So I used a fake one, but the problem is to recover my account, it would send it to that fake email address, which is actually somebody else's real email address, and I don't have access to it. So I lost all of those photos from my beautiful middle school youth. So I don't know my very, very first profile picture, which would be on MySpace, but I can tell you my first Facebook profile picture. Oh my gosh, why is it so hard to navigate Facebook nowadays? Okay, profile pictures. I've had 45 profile pictures on Facebook before. And look, oh man, dang it! Looks like my very first one was my infamous afro photo. I actually just posted this in my natural hair journey video that I did. This was my party trick. It was kind of like the funny thing that people liked me for. I was kind of a class clown. And this was my party trick and it made people laugh, which is lame. Let's see what my second profile picture is. Oh, it's just a photo with me and my cousin Ben. This is funny because also from my natural hair journey video, this was the only hairstyle I knew how to do for about 3 years. So that's really embarrassing. I do also have an official business page on Facebook. So if you want to see me on Facebook, go follow that instead. That's where I repost all my TikToks. And actually I have a ton of followers on Facebook. I don't know if Facebook was still popping, but it absolutely is. So that's kind of a funny profile picture. I don't know why I'm getting angry, sorry. What was the first CD I ever purchased? This one's interesting because I don't think it was NSYNC or Britney Spears because those were like family purchases. Those were the CDs we listened to on our way driving to soccer practice. The very first one that I purchased, I very vividly remember because I went to Target looking for this CD. It was TATU, which might phonetically be tattoo. I'm not even sure. This is so obscure, but they had one hit and it was the all the things she said, running through my head, running through my head, running through my head. Do you guys remember that song? Well, I had this friend who he and I loved this song. And this friend, he was my best friend in elementary school. He was moving away. And so I wanted to get him kind of a going away present. So I went to Target and I bought 2 copies of it and I gave one to him and I bought one for myself. And the idea was that we could listen to the album from across the country and think of each other. That sounds really weird and creepy. I don't know. I think it's kind of thoughtful, but that was the first CD that I ever remember purchasing. And again, this is another good date question because it can lead you into your music interest, but also make you reminisce on some of the good old random music that you used to listen to. What was the first film I ever saw in theaters? Or at least that I can remember. I'm sure my parents took me to see like The Little Mermaid in theaters, but I don't really remember that. The very first movie I remember seeing in theaters was actually Grease. And it was because my mother, my beautiful, wonderful mother, for my sister's, I don't know, maybe 12th birthday party, she got to invite about 6 friends to go to the movie theaters to see Grease. But what was memorable about this was my mom handmade felt poodle skirts with a little pom-pom poodle on the corner of each of them for all of us to wear to Grease. And I remember in the movie theater, all of us in our little poodle skirts, we like would stand up and go into the aisle and dance to Summer Lovin' Happened So Fast. Summer Lovin', we were having a blast. That was kind of funny. Good job. What was my very first Twitter post? Ooh. That's gonna take some scrolling. I've been on Twitter for a long time, but I go through waves of using it. I'm actually pretty sure I had to start a Twitter in college because I was majoring in journalism and kind of going the route of sports journalism. And using Twitter was very important to kind of give people updates. So they made us start a Twitter. So I bet you that's what my first one's gonna be. Oh my God, after 20 minutes of scrolling, I was right. My first ever Twitter post was about my first article that I ever wrote. I had a column in an online magazine, which was really cool. And so it looks like I was only using my Twitter to promote my articles and talk about sports and trying to keep updated with all of that. So that's kind of funny. Not that exciting, but I guess I really thought I was going to be the next Erin Andrews. Where did I go wrong? And the last question is, what is my first ever Instagram post? This one, I don't have to scroll that much because I archived a lot of my old things. So you can archive things on Instagram. So it doesn't delete them, but it almost keeps like a private album. Let's see what that one is. So my first ever Instagram post, which you guys won't be able to see publicly, is getting my first tattoo. I have a tattoo on my wrist. It says wordplay. And this must have been when I was 18 years old. What's also funny about this photo is that, you remember how I used to do like collages and grids and everything was so low res with just the worst filter put on it? This kind of encapsulates that entire time period. So my first Instagram post, this is another really fun date question to ask because I know you don't want to take out your phone on your date, but it's kind of fun to make them scroll and then you can kind of look over their shoulder and be like, oh my God, wait, what was that? Oh wow, you've been to Paris? That's so cool. Oh my gosh, look at what a baby you were. Wow, this is the college you went to. There's a lot of conversation starters in there and a lot of people, their first Instagram post is kind of embarrassing. So you can tease them a little bit, but hopefully it will lead to other conversation starters. One of my other fun questions I like to ask is, what were you like in high school? Because a lot of people were very different than they might be now. It might be like, oh, I was actually quite the troublemaker, but I calmed down, or oh my gosh, I was the teacher's pet. So there's a lot of different ways you could take this one in, but I like this question because it takes you down memory lane, but then you can ask a lot about their personal life and growing up, which just creates that deeper connection. So those were just some of my firsts that you guys can use as conversation starters, whether on dates or hanging out with friends or with family, just to take a peek into memory lane. Again, if you guys want a spicier version, I don't know, help me get more subscribers, I can go over some of my like first boyfriends or kisses or other first times. Oh, my eyelash is like falling off when I did that. You guys get it. But also let me know some of your firsts down in the comments. If you really connected to one of these questions, I want to hear about your first pet, or I want to hear about the first movie you saw in theaters, because those are just kind of fun to look back on. But I thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, throw it a like, throw it a thumbs up. It helps me out. And if you're not already subscribed, why not? I like hanging out with you, and I want you to come hang out with me in the future, so I'd really appreciate it. But I will see you guys in the next video. Toodles! And then Tijuana was just a hip jump and a scop away. Hip jump and a scop. What did I just say? Skip jump and a hop away. Good Lord, stroke time 2.0.